I am, what do you call it? Teaching yoga. So I don't now partially. So I don't, if it's really hot in the room and sometimes we keep it like 98 degrees or hotter, then I'm assisting people. I'm not trying to just be sweating buckets on them because I don't have hair to stop my sweat. So there's that. But yeah, let's get into this real conversation. So we're talking about the isms, and I have a friend. I have many friends, and somehow I lost one friend just now. Tony dropped.
The tech issues.
Right. He's all into tech. And so I'm waiting to see his face on there. Maybe this is it. All right, cool. All right, he's back. So I got Ben to his wedding. We're friends, and I'm okay having this conversation because I know him, right? So I know that he's not just saying, no, there's no such thing as racism just because he wants to be a jerk, because that's not it at all. I'm 100 on that. And we have this conversation because I'm okay having it, because I'm really clear on where I stand. It's not going to rattle. I'm not going to get upset. It's just okay. Like, is there racism? So I even went down because I wanted to make sure I was on earth with this. So my neighbor he's a fisherman. He's from Florida. He's awesome. Great guy. So I went down and I was leaving. And I said, hey, hold up. I got to talk to you, man. You're a country boy. Like, straight up. I got to hear what you got to say on this. I just got a question. And I'm pretty sure how you're going to answer it. Otherwise, I might have a real problem. I said, is there racism? He said, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, there's racism. And there's racism, and we all have biases on every side. Absolutely. Now, here's the difference. When I say racism, it's not just a bias. It is a operating system, especially here in the US, but it's global. It's an operating system that Hitler studied in order to create Nazi Germany. Imagine that. Hitler studied slavery and racism in America to create the system of Nazi Germany. So is there racism? Absolutely. Is it alive today? Yes, 100%. How would I even say that? And I'm going to give you an easy example. There's a young lady that scored 1,600 points. She's a point guard, person with brown skin, point guard at University of Texas. Every stat, 6 stats, nobody in the history, including Caitlin Clark, did what this young lady did across the board. She got not a single nomination for All-American. Never. Now, you tell me there's something different than we don't like this person for a reason, and it ain't because she plays basketball well or not. Then we can go deeper. You got loans, how do loans happen in the U.S.? And some people would say, well, these people have bad credit score. How do you think the credit score was created in the first place? Like, let's get real about it. You got to look at the whole thing. And so for me, I'm okay with the conversation, and I'm okay with the fact that people say these things that are ridiculous. Oh, people are playing victim. No, let's get real about this, because actually on 3 sides of the 4, right? When I say this, of my family tree, mom, dad, their moms and dads, and go. We own 3 plantations. So let's get real about it. I'm not talking. Most people look at me, but they assume just because they look at me that I have a problem in America because they look at me that way. And I waited a year before I told this person, hey man, I actually probably have way more privileges than you ever can imagine in your life, because I've been there. So I've just sat and watched. I've been that person, the only single person in every class that looked like me all the way through college, in every class, because my mom was a calculus teacher. What did that mean? Unfortunately for me, or fortunate, depends on how you look at it, 8th grade on, I was doing calculus and there was nobody that looked like me in there. That's it. Like, so then when I went to Purdue, 2% black, 2% black on 100,000 people university, 2%. You all can do the math. So when I first got there, and every time I pass a black guy, anybody, they say, "Hey, what's up, man?" And they would say it almost like they were pissed. And I was like, "Shit, I'm from DC." I sat down in the cafeteria with one of the football players, and I was like, "Yo, bro, is everybody freaking hitting you up with this? What's up, man?" He's like, "Yeah, what's wrong with you? What you mean?" I said, "I don't know, man. I feel like I got to fight everybody on campus, and they're black." And he's like, "No, that's them saying hi because there ain't very many of us." Like, that's real. That wasn't that long ago. I'm not that old. Like, that's real. Like, all of these things. And yes, it is still happening. We got a president that comes in and don't give me this DEI crap, because otherwise, why is our country falling apart when you replace them? So it ain't about DEI. It's about the fact that it was racism, period, exclamation point. And if it's not, then let the motherfucker come talk about it. Excuse my language. I just got baptized. Excuse me, God. So don't hold me up for the language on
holy
some
language.
BS. Like, it's just BS. Don't tell me that that's anything other than racism. It just is. And if you can't see it, it's okay. I'm cool letting you be ignorant and understand. But understand, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to take the time. If I love you enough, I'll take the time to help make sure you're educated on the fact that this still happens. It's real. It's not some made up thing. Like, it's real. And because this is what's tricky in America, and I get why those that don't necessarily fit in the system on the top making choices don't have top secret clearance and all that stuff. And I get why you would see it this way, that you see, oh no, it's economics. Well, let's go back to, who did Hitler study? To have racism against people that look like him? He studied here. And what did he create? An economic higher and lower thing. So yes, on that sense, someone that doesn't look like me, they would see it that way because they don't have to experience anything other than it's the economics. But when the economics are removed and you take Michael Jackson, Prince, you start taking these athletes and you say, okay, you start, yes, it is changing too. I'm going to say that. But you take these athletes and it's like, all right, it ain't just economics. Because now when you go to these athletes, like I just named the athlete from the University of Texas, it ain't economics. Because in America, what happens is, because it's real, because it is happening, when it comes up, if it isn't on economics, it reverses quickly, but you don't see it. You don't understand it, because I don't care who is in here. We are all ignorant in some way. Here's why I say that. I have no clue what it's like to be in Tony's skin. I have no clue what it's like to be in Chris's skin. So if you ain't in my skin, you ain't got a damn clue. You don't get to experience it. If you have a relationship with someone that looks like you and you walk in a restaurant, you don't get to experience what it's like for me and my wife to walk in. And I'm not saying it's bad. Hell, we walk in and everybody loves us because we walk in loving ourselves. But if I've never been taught that, then I wouldn't love myself, and people may be in the same reflection of the BS that other people experience. And so for me, and I'm gonna leave it with this, and excuse me for going long, because I preach over and over. Let's keep it quick. Let's keep the thing moving. But this is too important for me not to speak up, because I've experienced it. I've played soccer at 15 in England. You know, they didn't cheer for me until I crushed a Pakistani kid. And when I crushed him, I was like, damn, they're cheering for me for that. And so I picked him up and said, hey, bro, this ain't that. This is me playing a game. This isn't me being these racist fools running around here wanting to come get you. They got fences up to keep them out. I'm 15. That's BS. Stop it. 99% of everything in me is made up in all of us. That 1% is what makes up skin color. And guess what? My grandfather, not as dark as my hat, but closer than I am to my hat. And he was on the census as mulatto. And if you don't know what mulatto is, that is mixed. But yet he was that dark. Because if you're actually that dark, black has all colors. This hat has every color. It gets so diluted with color, it becomes this black. If you're white, you barely have color. You've been so removed from the actual original, all colors, that you look white. And if you still tan, you are blessed because you have melanin. And that is God's gift. So for all the people listening, if you think you're experiencing racism, you look in the mirror and you are dark skinned, say thank you to God, because it just protected you. That's real talk. Like, why do black people have people of dark color or dark hot countries have curly hair? Because the coils in the hair help protect them. If you grew up in a cold environment, your hair gets straight. You ain't need no protection from the sun. It was probably better off being around your face like you had on a mask. Like God created all these things, all these colors, all of us for a reason, for the beautifulness of each and every person underneath the rainbow.
Amen.
And I'm gonna end it with that. All right, what y'all got? All right, Dr. Vibe, go for it.
No, I'm gonna defer to. I'm still processing the sermon there, so just I'm gonna pass the stick to somebody else first, not me on this one. I'm processing.
Well, I think it's like what you said, Sid. It's really about the labels we put on things. And it's all about the individual experience of what that person has gone through in their life. I have met tons and tons of people throughout my life in all walks of life, from religions and sexual orientations and ethnicities, all the different labels you want to put on it. And depending on what that person experienced throughout their life shapes their perception of how they see other people and how they experience other people. I've had friends that grew up in the South that grew up in very racist families. And that's the only truth that they knew until they were exposed, until they went off to college or they went and moved to another state. And they're like, wait a minute, this is how my family treated these people based on how they looked. And so that person had to reshape their perspective and their perception of other people, but also their own personal identity of what they accept to be beautiful, what they accept to be equal, what they accept to be different. So they had to reshape their perspectives. But I love what you say, because, you know, at the end of the day, I tell people all the time, like, we're more the same than we are different. And I used to do this when I would do my professional speaking, as I tell people around the auditorium, and I'd say, look around. I say, you got black, white, straight, gay, Republican, Democrat, short, fat, you know, transgender, you got everybody here in the room. I said, and there's some of you in here in the room that will sit there and look at a person and have an opinion or a judgment about that person just based on how they look. And I said, that's unfair, because I didn't get to choose, as far as I know. Maybe, you know, preconception in the early light, I got to say, oh, I'm a white guy with brown eyes, and I got to pick all that, but I don't think so. But here I am. And so some of you guys are looking around the room. I said, but guess what? You split us down the middle. You can't tell us apart. I said, I can donate blood. You could donate a liver. You could donate whatever. We're all interchangeable people. So let's not look at what the person's packaging is. Let's look and see what's in their heart. And if we've grown up in a situation where perhaps we have a myopic view of another race or another sexual orientation or another religion, then perhaps it's incumbent upon us. And I teach people this is like, have an open mind and be curious about that person and that individual, and don't look for the differences, because if you look for the differences, as we got going on in the world today, people are like, oh, well, those Republicans are those. I'm like, no. I bet you fucking you got like 99 things in common. And you got one thing that's supposedly separating you, but there's really not that much separating you, because at the end of the day, you kind of want the same thing. It's just the mechanism by which you're going through it, because you're putting labels on it. And so I think it's a healthy discussion for people that perhaps, if they're having that perspective, is to get curious and to get open-minded and start asking questions and invite people into your home and have a multitude of people that come from different backgrounds, because it'll enrich your life. I know it's enriched my life. I grew up as a white kid in a black neighborhood, and I still remember my best friend's name was Tyrone. And then Tyrone, as we started getting a little bit older, I found that the black kids were calling me names. And I didn't understand. I'm like, we're all just kids fucking riding big wheels. And I remember I go home to my mom and I'm like, why are they calling me names? Why are they treating me differently? Why are they laughing at me? Why are they pointing fingers? Why are they calling you names? And they said, and that's when she really kind of had to explain racism and judgment. And she goes, just because of the difference of our color of our skin doesn't make us different people. So you don't need to listen to them. That's the conditioning. That's what they're seeing in their particular journey. And so it was, it really fired me up about life and how we are more the same than we are different.
All right. Is my mic on now?
Yeah.
All right. So this is obviously a hot topic. I agree with Chris on some of the things that he says, but we also got to be aware that, you don't just invite people into your house, because we're seeing that across this country. We're seeing that across Europe. We're seeing it across a lot of different places, that not everybody's going to gel. So you got to be careful. You can't just be like, oh yeah, I want to learn more about your community coming into my house. That doesn't really work that way either. So, I'll just temper, and I know what you mean, Chris, but I'm just going to temper that by saying that for the people that are listening. They're like, what the heck? What are we just going to inviting people in? No, you can't, because in certain places, you invite the people in before you know it. Now they live in your house, and the owner of the house is stuffed in a closet somewhere. So be smart about it, because we do have to be aware that there are people out there that are very different than us. Our cultures are very different. The way we communicate is very different as well. So you've got to kind of balance that out. And I'm just saying that kind of as a PSA, so to speak, because it isn't as much as like, oh, they're different, let me invite them into my house to see if we get along. No, just again, use your head. I love the saying that follow your heart, but take your brain with you. So it's important to do that, because there's a lot of people that are no longer here because
you're a quote guy. I just want to give you,
because they were a little too open.
You're a quote guy, so I'm gonna give you this quote from Bob Marley. If you have to lock your door, that's your fault. If you can't let people in from all over the world, that's our fault. That's this country. We've created that crap that we cannot. Because I'm here to tell you, there's never been a place I've gone in the world that people haven't just let me in their house.
You're not wrong, Sid, but not everybody's the same, is what I'm trying to say. Not everybody has your heart. Not everybody has the same intention. There's plenty of people out there that are saying, we're coming for you. And so, and in some places you do have to lock your doors, and it's not necessarily my fault, but if the community is breaking down for whatever reason, there's a lot of rampant crime, I'd be stupid to leave my door open. But my door is always open, by the way.
All right, so let's get back to the topic at hand on the racism.
But
so people lock their door and freak out just because they see a black person. That's
ignorant. But that's the ignorant part that you said. We're all ignorant about something, and ignorance is not. It shouldn't. A lot of people take it as offensive, and it could be offensive depending how it's used. But ignorance simply means that you don't know something about that subject or about that culture or whatever it is. I'm ignorant about a lot of things. The only thing I really know is that I don't know what I don't know. That's all I really know, right? And we're forever in this pursuit of knowledge and wisdom, and hopefully we're getting not just knowledge but some wisdom along the way. The one thing, racism absolutely does exist. Yet it's also important to remember that it exists across all colors, all platitudes, all depending on the situation. If you're a white guy in a black community, you're the one that's going to be facing the racism. You're a white guy in Africa.
Wait. Have you been in the black community and faced the racism?
Yes, I actually have. I've had a lot of weird experiences. Remember, I grew up in Newark.
Hold on. So can you just give me one of them? Because sometimes people say these things and they ain't ever been around anything. They've never gone to Cabrini Green. They've never gone into the hood. Some people will say these things and they've never gone there. So if you don't have the real-time experience, stop spreading this noise that may just be noise. But if you have a real experience, you don't even have to say it. I trust you because you're you. And if you don't have the experience, stop living on someone else's experience, because that's part of the problem. That's part of the equation of why racism continues, because most people, a lot of people, not all, but there's probably more people that, especially people of color, that have experienced racism than have not. Yet there are plenty of people that only live. If you live here at the beach, you see Sid smiles. So, and there's not, fortunately at this beach, there's more brothers than when I was in Santa Rosa Beach, because I used to call them the unicorns. Hey, can I find a unicorn at some point? Can I see a unicorn? Now I see one, I'd be like, oh, there's a bro. Thank heavens. that there is at least another one, just in case, because it was Redneck Riviera. And it was racist as I don't know what. Me and my wife sitting on the beach. Some random older white lady walking by, and then when she comes back, you guys shouldn't be together. I looked at Liz, and Liz was like, there's just some ignorant people. We left that town.
I got to be honest with you. You know, what the time that I felt racism the most, and it was racism, bro, and it was hate, was actually when I was hanging out with some black friends in a white bar. And I was with them, and we're just hanging out, we're eating, we're drinking, whatever. And I go to the bathroom. When I come back in, bro, if looks could kill, I'd been dead before I got back to the table. So I kind of felt the racism because I was hanging out with my black friends in a white, quote unquote, in a white bar or in a white town. And this was probably 25, 30 years ago. I don't even remember where it was. But I'm like, holy shit. And that's when I really felt that side of it. But I've had experiences where, you know, walking into being the only white guy walking into a black space, and like that Eddie Murphy movie where, like, you know, Eddie Murphy, when was it 24 Hours or 24-Hour Cop or whatever, and he walks into the bar and he's the only black guy, and like the music stops, the floors creak, and everybody turns. I kind of had the reverse of that experience. But listen, all that to say that the hate, there's plenty of love to go around. Unfortunately, there's too much hate to go around as well. And we got to understand that there's a lot of systems out there right now that are working on keeping us divided. And the more they can fragment us as a society, the happier that they'll be, because people divided can be controlled, right? United we stand, divided we fall. So the more divided we are into black and white and Hispanic and Asian and light-skinned black, because there's racism within the black community. If you're really dark skinned, you're going to face racism from that. If you're really light skinned, you're going to face racism from the darker skin in the community. So it's kind of crazy. So again, I just want to make sure that we're framing this around the whole problem and not just a black and white thing, because I've been told once in the past and you actually said, you know who this person is, and so do you, Christopher. And she said to me, says that black people can't be racist. I said, what are you talking about? She said, well, they can't be racist because they're the victims of racism. I said, stop. Racism isn't about black and white. It's about hate, and it's about ignorance and not understanding people's cultures, because there's people that are racist. Blacks are racist to Asians, and Asians to blacks, and whites to blacks, and blacks to whites, and Hispanics and everything else. This is happening now, and it's always happened. Yet as we continue to down the road of division, it's more and more difficult to come together. That's why it's important to have these conversations, right? Because the reality is we've all felt it at one point from one place or another. And it's just really about tearing down some of those barriers, understanding each other. To Chris's point, kind of invite them in so you can learn about them, right? At the same time, again, do that intelligently, I guess. But again, the isms are a problem. And I think that there's too many isms right now. Sexism and this ism and feminism and this ism and that ism. I think half of those isms are already kind of done anyway, because there's way too much going on. And we just need to, at the same time, kind of grow out of it and understand that we're all one. We're all a little different. And that's what makes the world go round. That's what makes the magic of the world, that we are all a little different, because the world would be boring as shit if we all looked exactly the same, sounded the same, walked the same, talked the same. It'd be a very boring place. So again, just about coming together and understanding each other. I think these conversations are epically important. So thanks for having it.
All right, got to hear from Coach and Doc. Go for it.
Coach, go ahead.
Man, y'all said a lot, man. It was a lot that was covered in these grounds, and these conversations are needed. I can tell you, I was made well aware of racism at an early age. I never forget one of the things that stood out for me. I played football, so during the off season, I would go and run the hills, and there was a particular town outside of Oklahoma City that was known for racism. And I had to drive through it to get to a certain part. So on this particular summer, I decided to ride my bike to go run the hills. And I had to go through the town. And after about an hour running up in them hills, up and down, tired, muscles fatigue, and hot because this is June. I get on my bike and I'm heading through this town. And I'm on the main street. And I hear the police and lights tell me to pull over. And I get to a four-way intersection. I'm confused, like, why is the police pulling me over on my bike? And cars are passing me. And they're looking. And the police came up to me and told me I ran a stop sign on my bike. Which to me was a form of intimidation. Consider I was on a bike and it wasn't a stop sign in front of me. Nevertheless, he proceeded to say I was on a motorized vehicle. And just that instant and just that stop being on the side of the road, embarrassed and feeling so degraded and inhumane to be told that I was stopped because I ran a stop sign. I knew it wasn't a stop sign. But this was my first experience when it came to law enforcement. Also playing football, we will have some of the most strategic, dominating records starting off the season. No recognition in the newspaper, no recognitions in the radio. It can be some of the same teams that may have a 1-2 record that's still getting the publicity. They're not beating teams 50-0, 60-0. They're not having a 6-0 and 7-0 record, as well as which also actually plays a factor into when you're talking about recruiting. Because I went to a historically black school known as Frederick Douglass, there's very strategic by how they recruited, if they recruited from that area. So when it comes to racism, and I heard somebody state about just being welcome. Fellas, I have traveled this world, man, and probably seen more than 15 countries. I feel more unsafe here than I do in the other countries I go to. As Sid stated, all these people in these different countries, they're very welcoming. And so welcome that they will bring you in. Even been in Iraq, they welcomed me with open arms, knowing that I was over there as a military advisor and to them as someone coming to take over and destroy their country. They still was welcoming, still loving. We're probably the only nation that's had that, what I would call barbaric and violent nature that I live in a decent neighborhood, but I still got to make sure my doors are locked. I still got to make sure my piece is ready if I have to grab it. When I'm in other places, I don't feel like that. And usually the other places, I don't even have a weapon on me, but the people are so welcoming. It's only here. And we have to really ask ourselves, why is that? And a lot of that does play with racism. I heard someone say something about the division. The Harry Kissinger report was very detailed in what their report meant. And it took America, Canada, Britain, and some other countries that decided that they was going to attack. Well, let's not use the word attack. They're going to systematically approach these African countries withholding certain aids, creating certain problems such as Ebola and some of the other diseases intentionally. And this is a report that you can go pull up on the Freedom of Information Act. This is intentional to destabilize a country. We talk about national security. National security for who? So racism does play a major factor in so many things. And it's not so much that it's obvious. Sometimes it's more, as we see, more systematic. Right now, we redistricting throughout the country just so a particular commander-in-chief can get what he or she wants. Nevertheless, we use people and we use soldiers. I was having a conversation with someone was saying, there's no reason why soldiers should come back and still be homeless and sleeping underneath the bridge, considering what they have done. People not realizing the federal government and the commander-in-chief uses these systems for their personal benefit. This is not for the American people. When I was over there, and not to go too much in detail, it was mainly not so much the Americans' interests, but it was the corporations' interests. It have shit to do with the American people. And this is when we got to start asking ourselves, is capitalism really more important than humanity? So I believe these conversations, man, are very important, very well needed. And we really have to look at it as we continue to do what we're doing. And I say we because we're Americans and the whole world is watching us. Whole world is watching us. And we're ignoring it like nothing is happening. And we let things run rule. And as they run and rule, we're paying the price.
Dr. Vaughn?
Is becoming more of a society.
Okay, well, I'm not an American. I'm a Canadian. So I don't know if that's.
We
fortunate.
still love you, bro. We're
okay. Good. I don't know if that's fortunate or unfortunate, but I want to take a little bit of a different spin because we're talking about isms today, and I did some research. I just want to share 3 different definitions of an ism, if I have your permission, Sid.
Yeah, go for it.
So the first one says an ism is a system of beliefs, attitudes, or practices that shapes how people are treated, often in ways that create advantage for some and disadvantage for others. Then there's another definition. An ism is a pattern or system that influences how people see, value, and treat each other. And then finally, isms are beliefs and structures that normalize unfair treatment and unequal power. So for me, we all have isms, every one of us. I think the first thing that's important that admitting that we have them. Because a lot of people say, I ain't this, I ain't sexist, I ain't racist. Well, you are something, right? You are something. And especially in the world that we live in today, too many people are looking the differences in other people instead of what we have in common with each other. Right? We all came, unless you came from the Flintstones, from a mother. That's something we have in common. Right? We have differences among this panel. We all have our own isms, but we're still together. So I look at this ism thing like, about racism. Hey, the last time someone called me the N-word, I'll never forget it. It was the day that was in 6th grade. It was the day of our Christmas party. A guy tried to beat me up. I still remember his name, Carlos Teixeira. I beat the crap out of him, and he got into trouble because of his racism.
Damn it had to be a Portuguese guy.
Well, look, believe it or not, growing up, some of our closest friends were Portuguese. Lamero, that was their name. The Lamero family. I think that many of us got to start, again, admitting that we have isms. That's the most important thing. And when these isms come up, we've got to find a way, especially when they're negative isms, to eliminate them or discuss them then with others. And how can I get rid of this ism? Because when you have these negative isms, it not only holds you back, it holds others back. I'm complete right there.
So if I can just add, I think one of the things that's adding to the isms right now, and I mentioned it in the chat, and I know that Sid, you don't completely agree. I think that a big problem that we're having in the Western society, Western cultures in particular, but not everywhere, is the fact that we're not upholding our laws. And we're letting people run rampant and do whatever the hell they want. You can go into a store, steal $1,000 worth of stuff, and you're not going to get arrested because it's underneath the threshold. You have people, Sid, I know I shared this with you as kind of a funny thing where, mother-daughter got arrested because they had $1,500 worth of stuff. They said, no, it was on 40% discount sale, so they're under $1,000. Says, no, you don't get the freaking discount when you steal. So they both got arrested. What's the safest country in the world right now? Arguably. It's Singapore. Well, in Singapore, I just read an article where these two American women went in to get their nails done in the shop, and they decided that they were just going to take off and not pay. Guess who's spending 2.5 years in prison? For doing their nails. Why? Because it's a lack of respect and lack of accountability. And I think that that's where things get back to is where's the accountability? Where's the self-respect? Because if there's no self-respect, there's no respect for others. If we don't respect the law, if we're spitting in cops' faces and we want to defund the police and we want this, and we're always pushing back against it, and I understand that there's problems you know, in every situation. But the situation we're in now is very much because people aren't being held accountable for their words, their actions, and their crimes in many cases. That's why Coach Hightower's got to lock his door. That's why I live in a really good town. I'm locking my door anyway. Why? Because I'd rather not pull out my wireless.
Yeah, but that the problem with all the things you named. See, this is where it gets tricky. Economics, most of the things you named were people that were lower economics being policed by the people with higher economics. Because
yes, but when somebody's hungry, they don't go into Best Buy and steal 3 TVs.
I've been in a store where this guy, I watched them park their car, walk in the store, a father with 6 kids and a wife, put a steak in one steak in his jacket and went to leave. Cops are there instantly. They can't be instantly anywhere else, but they were instantly here. And so then I said, hey, hold up, time out. I'd like to pay for that steak. He didn't steal it. He was bringing it to me. I'd like to pay for that steak. No, you can't do that. Why not? I want to pay for the steak. So now lady says, here's a pen, because this is back when I needed to sign something. And she said, here's a pen. I said, hold up. It was Aldi. No, it was Safeway. We're in Safeway. And you just handed me a pen from frickin', at the time it was BB&T. I said, so you stole the pen. Can we get the cops over here? She's got a pen. It's not her frickin' pen. So, but the people that want to make the laws, they don't abide by the laws. So screw your laws.
But that's my point, Sid. It goes right back to that, because the people at the top, it's laws for thee, but not for me. We need to start applying the law to everyone, including and especially, by the way, the people at the top that are the ones making the laws, writing the laws, and forcing us to comply with all these stupid laws. This should be held to a higher standard, because they're the ones that are writing these laws, instead of being able to skate because they're a politician, because they're above the law. But it starts at the top, Sid, 100%. Everyone needs to be the law needs to be applied evenly to everyone, and it's really not. And
as you and I both know, if Obama did, half would be a lot. If Obama did one thing of these Trump things, he's gone, bro. That's a fact.
True.
That is a fact. If he did the Epstein file things, proven or not,
the Epstein files.
Wait, hold up, time out. I just said proven or not proven.
Files, right?
I just said proven or not proven. If he were even in the conversation, if he's even in the conversation as a black man in America, it don't work out for him. They just did a great job bringing him up that nobody could get him. He's a Bush. They did a great job bringing him up that no one could get him. That's called racism. See, that's really where it's so far now, because it's so far out in a freaking weird way. It is so far out. And first thing first, we have to acknowledge that it exists, or we can't clean it up. Because it's running such a freaking current underneath that we have to acknowledge. It's like, why is my house so hot? The AC is on. I can hear it outside, not working well, but the AC is on and it's not getting cold. That's because there's a problem. We have to actually say, all right, what's the problem? Now, not only is racism a problem, Robert put in the thing, respect for oneself. Yes, that's another problem. I was just at a 5th grade graduation. Kids noisy as heck. Two of the other ones being obnoxiously ridiculous. The older kids, like someone said something, they clap. Now these kids keep clapping for a good 30 seconds just to make noise. Parents do nothing. I looked at the guy next to me because I saw him making a bunch of faces and stuff and all this stuff going. I said, yeah, man, they raising kids different today. And he started laughing. I was like, these ain't my kids. He's like, how old are your kids? 30, 20, 25 to 30. Like, nope, not my kids. They don't move like this. So yes, it starts out self-respect. My self-respect said I wasn't going to walk my kids into any place and let them make me look like an idiot. So self-respect. Yeah. I dare you. I double dare you to walk in and make me look like an idiot. That's just what I came from. So that's how I went downhill. Like that's real. So it's amazing. So when I look at it like solution, here's one, conversation. Here's the second one, acknowledging that it actually exists. Third one, start doing something about it, which for me looks like if you really get it, it's time for us to go get the people at the top.
100%. Again, hold the lawmakers accountable, even more accountable than, again, I say it again, the people that are upholding the law, the police all the way on up should be held to a higher standard, not to a lower standard. And we need to start applying the laws on the books. We don't need any more laws, by the way. We don't need another freaking letter written into our laws or the tax code. We need to probably take out some of those stupid, antiquated laws that still exist throughout certain parts of this country that still represent racism and everything else. We need to get rid of laws, not add new laws.
Correct.
But we actually need to start enforcing the laws. You know what? It's the whole broken window theory. If you let somebody walk out, by the way, the whole shoplifting thing, you know how many videos I've seen of not black guys, white guys going into Home Depot and wheeling out all the Milwaukee stuff and DeWalt stuff and then going to a pawn shop and selling it. Well, that guy got busted, so did the pawn shop. But the point is, people are doing this with impunity. And until we start enforcing laws, oh, they broke into your house, you shouldn't have shot him. No, they broke into your house, they should be shot, right? Oh, he was just this. I don't care. You're coming into my property. I lock my door. Why? Because I'd rather not have to shoot somebody. I'd rather warn them at the door. Again, not in that neighborhood. But the point is, we shouldn't have to lock our doors, but we do, because there's always somebody out there that hasn't worked for their shit, that thinks that they're entitled to taking your stuff. And there's people doing it and not getting held accountable for it. So then it just continues to propagate. And that's not a black and white thing. That's across the board with everyone. You let people get away with shit, and there's just, you give a finger, they take a hand. You let them take the hand, they take the arm. You let them take the arm, you're done. And right now, they've already got our arm. And that's why there's people cold cocking 75, 80-year-olds, ladies on the street, and nothing happens to them. There was a guy that lately had a bunch of porn and a bunch of other.
Now we got to be careful with what we bring into this, because there's AI.
He was facing 60 years in prison. The judge gave him 1 day, 24 hours in prison. This is a problem. We need to get rid of activist judges, and we need to start enforcing our laws. That's where we start the healing. That's where we start even fixing the isms, because the whole ism, I mean, what do people say all the time? Well, usual suspects. Well, let's stop that shit and start enforcing laws and holding people accountable for their actions. And maybe we won't have as much of this crime and as many reasons. Because, by the way, this guy right here, I was a racist kid growing up. You know why? Because I grew up in Newark, and every time I got jumped in high school or on the way to school, or every time I got jumped, is always a couple of black guys or a Puerto Rican guy, whatever. So I grew up with that. I grew up fearing that, because I grew up in a community that they lived in fear, because that's who was committing the crimes. Of course, I grew up and I opened my mind and I learned and I grew, right? Because we're all supposed to grow and grow through our life's experiences. So I'm no longer
to me, that's not growing up with racism.
But I was
that's
the victim
growing up.
Of
hold on. You got to
thing,
get some space here. Tony.
I don't know. I can't hear Sid, but I see him.
Can you all hear me?
You guys can't hear me.
All right.
You guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you. I don't know why you can't hear us or me. But you were on a.
Dude, did I lose my mic again?
No, I muted you on purpose. Yeah, I don't even know where to go from that rant. And he dropped because he thinks I closed his mic. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where to go. I have no clue. So y'all got to bring it back into focus, because it was.
Well, it goes back to the other side of the conversation, is the hypocrisy. I think that's where kind of Tony was leading to, is the hypocrisy and the double standard of do as I say, not as I do. And even Trump said himself, he goes, I'm exploiting the tax laws that you guys wrote. He goes, so am I at fault for that, or are you guys at fault for creating it? And so I think it comes back to that ability just to look within ourselves at our values. I teach people this all the time, is like, what do your values say about your actions? And are your actions congruent with what your values say? So if your values are about equality and inclusivity, then what are your actions saying about that? And if they're not in alignment, then that's a question for us to ask ourselves and say, okay, how can I be in better alignment? Perhaps we get out of alignment, which sometimes is not that hard to do if we don't have people holding us accountable and having these awesome conversations where we can sit there and say, okay, let me check my shoe shine on this and make sure that I'm doing what I can be doing in order to make it better. And I think it's obviously about the conversation we have here and the people that are listening and watching. Go have those conversations with other people in your community, and let's begin to build a fire around the fact that there is something that's going on, and how can we all do a better job of being a part of the solution rather than part of the problem. And that's the way I see things, as I continue to educate people and educate myself and having these conversations and being able to say, okay, well, explain to me where you're coming from. Help me understand what it is that you're saying. Tony and I have these conversations all the time. Tell me about, okay, how do you feel this way? And where does that come from? And then we start to do that. And sometimes by examining where we come from, we can sit there and say, okay, well, there's something that I can adjust on this. There's something that I can make a little bit different, a little bit better.
Cool.
Dr. Vibe, you popped out for a minute just in case you were trying to say something.
No problem. I'm gonna wrap up with a suggestion, because I also feel not only does it have to stop from the top, but each one of us have to take a look at it. So here's a suggestion when it comes to someone who has isms or men who have isms. First of all, name it. Don't say, oh, that's how those people are. Call it what it is, whether it's racism, sexism, classism, ableism, whatever it is. Number two, look inward. Ask yourself, where did I learn this view? Who in my life taught me to think this way? And what would they say if they knew I still believed it? Then this could be challenging for a lot of people. Change your circle. Spend more time listening to people who live the isms instead of arguing with them, and spend less time around people who treat bias as a joke. Number four, act in your zone of influence, in your family, in your workplace, your school, your church, your gym. Challenge the jokes, the stereotypes, and the unfair patterns. And then finally, stop waiting for the perfect moment or perfect answer. Stop waiting for the perfect answer. The isms shrink every time a man chooses to speak up, show up, and stand differently. So the solution is name it, own it, change it, and keep going. I'm complete.
All right, Doc or Coach, your 30-second wrap for
Hey, I'm gonna agree with Dr. Vibe. Name it, own it. We all know what we're dealing with things that we may not be comfortable with. That also goes back to just being a better version of you. So find what that is, man, and continue to strive and just be a better person. That's what it boils down to me. I'm complete.
Tony.
Well, I would say that, many people have isms. I don't know that everybody has a ton of them. I think that sometimes just awareness and maybe sometimes, I heard one this is kind of funny and not funny, and it may come out wrong or not wrong. And it was somebody that says, listen, I prefer, rather racism, I prefer statistician, right? Just like you shouldn't be patting down little old ladies in wheelchairs after 9/11 just because you got to check everyone. If it's just the redheads with freckles that are blowing shit up, that's who you need to check. Stop trying to make everybody feel good by checking people that don't fit the demographic. I think that profiling to a certain extent is an important part of policing, everywhere. And that's not a black and white thing. That's just what it is. If you're looking for a white guy that broke into a house, you're not going to pull over the black guy looking for the white guy, right? And vice versa. I think that in a lot of ways, we need to accept people, and this applies for different things in our life, not necessarily to the ism thing, but accept people for who they are, know who they are. When they see who they are, accept them for that. Just put them where they belong. Don't put them where they don't belong. Don't put them next to you if they're not a good person, if they're a racist prick, or if they're, this or that. Don't have them near you. I mean, I know people that are like that in my life. I just distance myself. I don't want to be around that. I don't want to be around negativity. I don't want to be around somebody that's a radical left or radical right. I don't want you in my life. I just rather not deal with that. So I think we all need to just make decisions and take responsibility for our own choices of the people that we're surrounding ourselves with, and our own actions and our own words, and how we choose to walk this life. And just remember that you can't leave lasting footprints if you tiptoe through life.
Coach, we're coming to you. So why you turn your camera off? What the?
He's being
He had
shy.
to go.
Oh, I missed that. Cool. Who did I just lose?
Oh, you lost Tony and
Tony.
Coach.
No, there we go.
Oh, Tony's back.
Yeah.
He hit me. He's like, I don't want to talk to that guy no more.
Chris, you got 30 seconds. Go for it.
30 seconds. I think it really goes back to educate yourself, be a part of the solution rather than part of the problem. For us in our household, having a 9-year-old kid, whenever it's a particular time of the month, whether it's Cinco de Mayo or Black History Month or whatever it might be, we take our opportunity, 9/11, whatever something is going on that's timeliness, we sit there and we go on television and we look for documentaries. We look for historical movies. We look for things that speak to the origin of a lot of these situations so that we can educate ourselves and educate our son, because he is the future. And so that's one of the big things that we do is we take that opportunity in looking at slavery and looking at plantation owners and looking at the diversity of society as it's evolved. And it hasn't been that long ago. It's really about educating ourselves and then going out and having these conversations like we're doing right here, which I appreciate you, Sid, for doing. And calling it out when we see it within our friends and our friend groups, no matter where it might be coming from. That's something that I prided myself on over my life. When I've heard something, I'm like, tell me more about that. Tell me what the meaning is behind that. And sometimes I'm making an assertion or assumption about what that person's saying based on the way they said it. And then I give them that opportunity to rephrase it. And then it changes my perspective about it. But also at the same time, I can also say, have you heard yourself? Can you consider, if you look at it from this perspective or this person's demographic or this person's historical aspect, how that might be taken differently? And hopefully you're with somebody who could sit there and say, you know what, I never really considered that. Or like Tony said, if you find out that somebody is a certain particular way, which I have unfortunately found in my life, where I have found people that were racist that I had no idea that were racist, but they finally let something slip. And I'm like, explain that more to me. And then they'll say something and then they'll dig the ditch a little bit deeper. And that's where I sit there and say, have a nice life.
All right.
Yeah, but you know what? I think if I can just jump in.
No, you can't go. Well, this is a 30-second close, man.
I
This
know.
is a close. Bring
I
it
know,
back
but there was
next week.
something. You know what? I'll tell you what. I'm not going to say what I was going to say, but I'm going to say.
So you're going to try to add something different.
Slavery.
Like
I was going to
this
say.
guy, like we can't stick to the rules in here. Like how are we going to stick to the rules when we get to the White House?
Listen, slavery
can't
wasn't
stick to
a
'em
black
in here.
and white thing. I just want to remind everyone of that. That is all over the place, all over the world. So let's just make sure that we kind of put that in the conversation as well. Sorry,
All right.
Sid.
Okay, thank you. And thank you all for being here. I mean, what I love, no matter what, like we had multiple looking people in here and we had a conversation that we're still friends when we leave on on one of the isms. Like really, it should be that way. And we should be enlightened on some level, all of us, no matter what it is. And so thank you for that. And my close up, I'm gonna give you this story because Dr. Vibe said I should tell more stories. So here's the story. You can go look it up. 1700s came over on the ship. And when they came over on the ship from UK, they were white. And the 9th president of the United States, Harrison, who went after before Abraham Lincoln went after stop slavery. He was assassinated. My family that came over are the ones that got him elected, the 9th president. Now here's the story. This is a love story of a plantation owner that when I believe it was his first wife passed, he went across to buy slaves. And he realized the lady sitting there was his wife. So he bought her and the whole tribe and freed them on the land. And then they would go on and I've got a boatload plus of relatives. And so he freed them all. And they would keep making babies until they got to the lightest skinned kid that could be the next plantation owner so that everyone could remain free. So there's a lot of different stories and a lot of different things that happened during some of the most racist, heinous times in this country. That would be slavery in this country. But we have to get honest about it. We have to find the truth and live in the truth and not repeat the past. That's how we move beyond this. We can't hide it. We can't burn up the books, because guess what? It's still in me. All of it, good, bad, right, or wrong, it's in my DNA. So it will awaken in all of us if we don't know what we are doing. He said when he went to the cross, forgive them, Father, because they don't know what they do. It's time that we know what we do and do something different. Thank you all. Thank you, fellas. It's been a pleasure. I'm grateful for the conversations like this. Let's keep it moving. Have a beautiful week. Peace.
I've been at peace for so long. It seems like I've been sitting all alone. Would you know when the crew is coming through? They're the ones that will make anew. Gotta go, gotta flow, gotta choose the truth. We the ones that will raise the roof. Let's roll up and throw down. Let's go and feel the sound. Good vibes, one tribe. Can you feel me now? Be you, be me, be free. Go and take it till we bounce the beat. Take it to the streets, make a move the feet. I can slow it down, look in my eyes now. Just like you two want it fast. Spread them wings and make it last. God was the one to erase the past. Time to bring it forward to see the forecast. Did you hear it? Did you hear it? Lift your dreams and fill the glass. Did you hear it? Did you hear it? Lift your dreams and fill the glass. That was God's broadcast. That was God's broadcast. Time to embrace the peace.